I'm Tim Tyler, a broker salesperson with Coldwell Banker Realty in Maplewood, New Jersey, and a licensed real estate instructor. And today I want to talk a little bit about a disturbing trend I see in the real estate industry: unrepresented sellers. To start, let's talk about representation. Our modern real estate industry began back about 120 years ago when we began seeing real estate agents representing sellers under the law of agency. And for the first 70 or 80 or so years, that was exactly what we did. We represented sellers. Then somewhere about 1980, people looked at this situation and said, it's not really fair that there's this agent who's representing the best interests of the seller and the buyer's pretty much on their own. So we began to see buyer representation. And so for the last 40 years or so, we've had this situation where in most cases, there's one agent that represents the seller's best interests, and there's another agent who represents the buyer's best interests. Yes, now and then we have dual agency, and that's a matter for a whole nother video. But for the most part, each party has their representative at the table fighting for their best interests. But what I've seen a lot recently is this growing trend towards unrepresented sellers. Seller who's nobody there to protect their interests in a transaction. And there's two different types of unrepresented sellers here. The first is the for sale by owner. Now we've had for sale by owners since forever, since well before the modern era of real estate. And at the most, generally, they're between 5 and 10% of the market. Now, they typically do this because they don't want to pay no exorbitant commission. Well, statistics show that the typical for sale by owner home sells for about $100,000 less than the typical represented seller's home. And while I'm sure that a fair amount of that has to do with people with less valuable properties being less interested in paying a commission than those with plenty of money. But it would take an awful lot of that to really move that number a whole lot. So honestly, I haven't seen too many $100,000 commissions. So a lot of those for sale by owners are getting a lot less for their home than they could if they agreed to pay a typical commission. So that's been around for a long time. Why am I saying this is a new trend? Well, that's because there's another type of unrepresented seller that's beginning to grow in our market. And that is those who sell to these iBuyers. Yes, the iBuyers come in two different forms. There's the big companies like Open Door and some of those other companies like that. Or there's simply the people who are selling to some investor who sends a letter around the neighborhood saying, I want to buy your home. What these iBuyers are offering is basically a quick and easy transaction. Some of these iBuyers aren't particularly very scrupulous, and there's no one in that transaction who's standing up for that seller and protecting them from an unscrupulous buyer. Now, you may say, well, this company or that company is offering me, sell it quick and easy at just as much or more than you could get for an agent. Well, last year, Open Door was fined $62 million for making exactly that claim when the evidence showed that the opposite was true. Those who sold with an agent got significantly more for their homes than those who sold to an iBuyer. Now you might say, well, I could try selling my home and maybe I'll do just as well. What have I got to lose? Well, all you have to lose really is all of your hard-earned equity in your home. If you are thinking of selling your home, I do hope that you will decide to be represented. And if you want to be represented by me, you could reach out to me at 973-462-4079. I'm happy to help. If you learned something from this video, do me a favor and click the like button below. And if you have any questions about anything we talked about in this video, or have ideas for new topics for us to talk about, put those in the comments. And finally, subscribe to the House Talk New Jersey YouTube channel so you'll get updated whenever we put new videos in here explaining how to buy and sell real estate in the state of New Jersey.